Welcome back to the Explainer. So, the wait is finally over. The PDFs have been downloaded, and all across the country, thousands of aspirants are figuring out their very next move. The anticipation leading up to this specific 2026 result was just off the charts, and now that the dust is settled, we actually have a really clear picture. Whether you're celebrating today or quietly reflecting on what went wrong, we're going to break down exactly what this year's result means for you. Let's dive deep into the data and find some clarity amidst all the chaos.
All right, let's just jump right into the sheer scale of the competition on exam day. A massive 8,119,372 candidates registered for this year's exam. But here is a truly fascinating piece of data. Attendance hovered right around 67%. That means approximately 2.7 lakh registered candidates simply did not show up on May 24th. I mean, why do over 250,000 people skip one of the most important exams of their lives? Well, often people realize at the 11th hour that UPSC requires way more than just filling out a form. It requires you to be battle ready, and the pressure just gets to be too much. Oh, and for those of you who did show up, you experienced that new face authentication system processing an incredible 12,000 verification checks per minute. A pretty stark contrast to the old school pen and paper test waiting inside the hall, right?
Now, this brings us to the brutal reality of the UPSC funnel. From those hundreds of thousands of hopeful registrations, a tiny fraction, exactly 13,343 candidates, actually qualified for the mains this year. If you look at the total registrations, that is roughly a 1.6% selection rate. Just pause and let that sink in for a second. 98.4% of the competition, gone. It's literally one of the most rigorous filtering processes in the world, methodically taking that massive crowd from May down to a highly select, battle-tested group preparing for August.
So here is our roadmap for today's Explainer, the 2026 Prelims by numbers, why fewer candidates qualified, the raw aspirant experience, why smart candidates fail, the mains 2026 action plan, and finally, rebuilding for next year.
Okay, Section 1, the 2026 Prelims by numbers. Understanding the macro trends here is absolutely crucial to making sense of your individual performance. The big point here is the year-over-year comparison. Back in 2025, there were 1,087 notified vacancies, and 14,161 candidates were shortlisted. But this year, the vacancies dipped to 1,016, and correspondingly, the total number of qualifiers dropped to 13,343. Why does this happen so predictably? Because the UPSC has a strict mandate to qualify candidates at about 12 to 13 times the total number of vacancies. So a drop of just 71 vacancies at the very top literally ripples all the way out to automatically eliminate over 800 potential mains candidates at the bottom. The math is just incredibly unforgiving.
Moving on to Section 2, why fewer candidates qualified.
Let's explore the shifting dynamics that explain why the shortlist shrank so significantly, particularly for the Indian Forest Service, which saw its shortlist almost cut in half, from 2,116 last year to just 1,046 this year. But the really wild part? The unprecedented release of the OMR-based provisional key just 4 days after the exam. For the first time in recent memory, candidates didn't have to wait an entire year to see the official answers. This immediate transparency showed exactly one dropped question in Set A, question 64, which instantly shifted how everyone calculated their expected scores. Combine those fewer vacancies with that immediate provisional key, and the cutoff dynamics and expectations changed across the board. Experts consistently noted that General Studies Paper 1 was analytically heavier this year compared to past exams. This naturally lowered the total number of attempted questions and ended up severely compressing the scores right at the top end. And you know what compressing scores means, right? It means thousands of borderline candidates were suddenly separated by mere fractions of a mark. Literally, one analytical question answered correctly or incorrectly became the absolute deciding factor between prepping for August mains or starting the entire year-long cycle all over again. Section 3, the raw aspirant experience. Let's step away from the bureaucratic data for a second, because the human element, the emotional toll of result day, is huge. Behind every single roll number is a story of immense sacrifice. For a select few, the result PDF brought absolute, unbridled euphoria. Like this Reddit user who just typed out, I'm freaking ga. Finding your roll number on that list is an adrenaline rush unlike anything else. It's the ultimate validation of months of isolation and endless mock tests finally paying off. But we absolutely have to acknowledge the other side of the coin, the heartbreak, when you put in the work and your roll number just isn't there. As this aspirant said, the world around me feels heavy. And it really does feel like everything just stops. If you are feeling this right now, please know that this exam's unpredictability is universally recognized. It's a grueling moment where you check the list again and again, hoping you misread it. But you are definitely not alone in feeling that intense gravity today. And then there's the harsh reality of the CSAT. Look at this experience. Scoring a really solid 92 in general studies with the official key, but the CSAT tripped them up. You need a minimum of 33%, which is about 66.67 marks, in CSAT just to qualify. Failing it means automatic disqualification. It doesn't matter if you are a policy genius in Paper 1. If you ignore basic numeracy and reading comprehension in Paper 2, the journey stops right there. It is a painful reminder that UPSC demands balanced, all-around competency. Which brings us to Section 4, why smart candidates fail. This is a fascinating question. What actually separates the successful candidates from the rest? Why do academically brilliant students often stumble? Let's shatter a massive myth right now. UPSC doesn't care about your past academic genius or your 95% scorecard from high school. What it demands is extreme resilience and a flawless 11-month execution strategy. Think about the university gold medalist who thinks they can just cram for 2 months. They almost always get crushed by the vastness of the syllabus. Now look at an average 60% student, but someone who treats this like a marathon, executing a consistent, unbreakable revision cycle. That candidate will win, every single time, because UPSC tests long-term endurance under pressure, not just rote memory. Experts see the 7 traps over and over again. Arrogance, especially brushing off the CSAT, is a massive one. Panic in the exam hall is another. Knowing the answer doesn't help if your nerves cause you to bubble the wrong circle. And then there's what we call resource paralysis, hoarding a million PDFs and books instead of just mastering one standard source through multiple revisions. Add in choosing an optional subject purely based on what's trending rather than your actual strengths. Yeah, you've got the classic recipe for a failed attempt. All right, Section 5, the Mains 2026 Action Plan. For the 13,343 of you who qualified, listen up. There is absolutely no time to rest. The window between now and August is incredibly short. First up, you have to rigorously update your detailed application form, your DAF, between June 19th and June 28th. Do not leave this to the last minute and risk server crashes. Get it done. Because once that's cleared, all eyes are on August 21st when the mains begin. The absolute biggest mistake you can make right now? Waiting until you feel ready to start answer writing. Spoiler alert, you're never going to feel 100% ready. You need to start producing answers today. Prelims was about spotting the correct option. Mains is a totally different beast. It's about profound depth and the physical stamina to write flawlessly for 6 hours a day. Furthermore, you must absolutely lock in your 500-mark optional subject immediately. You can't waver on this. It is the ultimate rank maker in the mains ecosystem. And finally, Section 6, rebuilding for next year. What if you didn't qualify this time? Disappointment is natural, but drifting into regret is just a waste of your potential. Do not restart blindly. Don't just run out to buy new books and start over. Pause. Honestly diagnose your exact points of failure. Did you lose marks to silly mistakes? Were you guessing blindly out of desperation? Or did you just run out of time on the CSAT? You have to know exactly where the ship leaks before you set sail again. Find a mentor, cut through the post-result noise, and logically rebuild your system from the ground up so you don't repeat the same mistakes. And while you are rebuilding, keep this highly crucial technical detail in mind. Just sitting for a single prelims paper burns one of your strictly limited attempts. Whether you only sat for GS Paper 1 and went home, the attempt is counted. A general category candidate only gets 6 attempts. It is not an infinite runway, guys, so your next approach has to be deeply calculated and treated with the utmost seriousness. With a calendar already locked for the next exam cycle, the ultimate question I want to leave you with today is this. Are you going to let the heavy weight of this result freeze you, or are you going to use this precise data to rebuild a flawless battle-ready system? The clock to May 23, 2027 has already started ticking. So, what's your next move? Take a breath, use your time wisely, stay focused, and I will see you in the next explainer.